Perfect.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, great.
They were just asking if they could record it on the Zoom. So we were saying, yeah, they can record it.
Zoomland is over there, don't even say it. Okay.
All right. So by the end of this presentation, which is going to take around 15 minutes, you will gain knowledge that will help you lead your healthcare team to reduce your risk of falls. Specifically, by the end of this presentation, you will be able to recognize that most falls result from interacting risk factors, describe how occupational therapy practitioners can help you reduce your risk of falls, and identify strategies and resources that you can use to reduce your risk of falls. So I also have I have a few handouts for you that you will receive at the end of this presentation. One lists several helpful fall prevention resources, and the others will provide fall prevention tips.
So in most cases, falls experienced by older adults are caused by several risk factors that occur at once.
Can you mute everybody? Because we can't hear you. You have to mute everybody.
They should be muted, but I'll do it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Fall risk factors are commonly placed into three categories: physical, behavioral.
We can't hear you.
Should we just use the mic?
I can use the microphone. That's okay. Is that it?
Yeah, that's the mic. How do I get this to work?
One moment, I'm gonna get the microphone.
Behavioral and environmental, but keep in mind that these risk factors frequently interact to cause a fall. Physical risk factors relate to changes in your body that increase your risk for a fall. Impaired balance is an example of a risk factor.
Can you tell them to be quieter?
Sure.
I got it. Keep
Okay.
No, not good.
Yeah, there's some
People
people
doing the
over
photo
there.
Again, it's not muted. People are not muted.
You might be hearing some people in our room as well, because we have people in person with us.
Okay. Everybody online is muted, so it's got to be noise
Yeah,
from the.
so that's just the noise in our room, and I can't control much about that. I'm sorry. I'll try to speak up as much as possible. Okay. So again, physical risk factors are something that happen in your body. Behavioral risk factors are the things that we do or don't do to increase our risk for falls. For example, not asking for help when doing something that might cause a fall is a behavioral risk factor. Environmental risk factors are typically hazards in our home or community, such as loose throw rugs throughout our home or unclear pathways from your bedroom to the bathroom or something, or even pets if you have a dog or a cat running around beneath your feet. So now that you have a better understanding of why most falls happen, let's talk about the role of occupational therapy to help with fall prevention efforts. But before we do this, let's begin with a question. Does anybody know what occupational therapy is? No? Okay. Has anybody ever worked with an occupational therapist before? You have. Nice. A few people. So occupational therapy helps people of every age to do the things that they want and need to do through the therapeutic use of everyday activities, or as we refer to them as occupational therapists, occupations. In other words, we focus on daily activities to be sure you remain as independent as possible and function as well as you can, despite injury, illness, or disability. So the term occupation refers to a person's meaningful activities, and your life is made up of many occupations. So personal occupations that relate to me are, I'm a student, I'm a brother, I do ADL activities, which are activities of daily living that includes brushing my teeth and taking a shower, instrumental daily activities of daily living, which is paying bills, taking care of my younger siblings, And these are just a few examples, the roles that you fulfill in everyday life. So your occupations, the day-to-day things that you love to do, are linked to important roles in your life, such as being a grandparent, a friend, a volunteer, an employee, a spouse, or a caregiver. Most of us are happiest when we engage in activities that reflect our values and our identities. So fear of falling or an injury caused from a fall can keep us from doing the things that we like to do. And this is where occupational therapy comes in. So we help you safely do what is meaningful to you. Any questions so far? Occupational therapy, no? All right. When it comes to preventing falls, occupational therapy practitioners can help in many ways and in various settings, including hospitals, rehabilitation centers, homes, and in the community. Occupational therapy practitioners work with people at risk for falls to help them better understand and manage their risk factors, whether these are physical, behavioral, or environmental, as I mentioned before. So occupational therapy practitioners also work with people after they've already had a fall, when their injury disrupts their ability to be involved in what they really want to do. They work with people who have sustained injuries such as hip fractures, wrist fractures, or head injuries after a fall to answer the question, how can I do the things I need to do on a daily basis to care for myself and my home and to fulfill my responsibilities? So for those with a physical and mental change that make it harder to do things, occupational therapy can be directed at improving skills and abilities like your strength or your balance or how we plan tasks, teaching people how to modify activities so they can do them more safely, or changing the area or environment around them to reduce the risk of falls. So as occupational therapists, we target all of those areas and we figure out which ones are most detrimental to your ability to do the things you want to do. So your home can be made safer by doing things like improving lighting and removing tripping hazards like clutter or electrical cords. It's important to remember that the risk of falling increases with the number of risk factors present. So it might be difficult to get rid of all of your risk factors, but a little bit can go a long way because even small changes can make a big difference. So consider this tower analogy you see on the screen. Imagine you're building a tower of bricks with one brick stacked up on the next. Each brick represents one risk factor. As the tower gets taller, it becomes more unstable. Likewise, when your risk factors stack up, your risk of falling increases. So the goal of occupational therapy is to reduce or shrink the tower. We might always have some bricks or risk factors, especially since some risk factors, like having already fallen or just getting older in general, can't be changed, but we can shrink the tower and thereby reduce our risk for falls. So now let's talk about how you can reduce your risk factors. Remember, the hallmark of occupational therapy interventions is that they incorporate your valued occupations into the occupational therapy process. We call this a client-centered approach. So we really take into account what your interests are and try to incorporate that into our treatment. So an occupational therapy practitioner will look at what you want to do and how you want to do it, considering all of your risk factors. To discuss specifics, let's frame our conversation around the different types of risk factors, physical, environmental, and behavioral. And I'll highlight just a few key fall risk factors and occupational therapy's role in addressing them. So when it comes to physical risk factors, medication interactions, impaired vision, and poor balance are very powerful influences on fall risk. So those are things that may lead to a greater risk at falling, not necessarily a fall specifically, but a greater risk. It is not unusual for a person to use many different types of over-the-counter prescription medications. However, these medications can interact and create health problems that increase fall risk. Speaking with your doctor or pharmacist about your medications and how they make you feel is an essential step to reduce your fall risk. Together, you can come up with a medication plan that addresses your needs. It is also important to stay hydrated since medications can reduce your hydration level, and that can lead to dizziness, confusion, or falls. So once you and your doctor determine a medication plan that works for you, occupational therapy practitioners can also help you incorporate it into your everyday routine through lists, schedules, and reminders so you don't forget. We're good so far? Everything's making sense? All right. So have any of you noticed changes in your vision as you've gotten older? Me too. This can be a major fall risk. So vision issues can cause difficulty with balance. Vision problems can also make it hard to judge how far something is away from you and to move around obstacles in your path. So it's important to have your vision checked by an eye doctor on a regular basis to monitor any vision declines. Yeah.
How did you make your home environmental safer?
We're going to get to that. We'll talk about clearing out paths from your bathroom to the bedroom, or clearing off your steps if there's any clutter on the steps, removing throw rugs. Those are just a few examples of how to make your home a little bit safer, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Okay. So also, exercise and sleep are important for eye health. Occupational therapy practitioners can help by teaching people living with macular degeneration, glaucoma, diabetic retinopathy, or other vision issues how to complete daily tasks by helping them learn new skills such as visual tracking or the ability to move one's eyes from left to right to see any potential barriers in the environment. As we get older, this becomes something that our bodies have trouble doing. Yeah.
And I think certainly with limited vision, I know I am nearsighted with pre-glaucoma. I do take eye drops daily. When you're outside the home as well, crossing streets,
Yeah.
many lights now have that sound wave, walk sign is on.
Yep.
Very, very important to listen to that
Yeah.
and watch what's going on.
Yeah. And that's a perfect, so for the people on Zoom who didn't get to hear his question or his response, he was talking about the outside environment and how certain crosswalks have a noise that will let you know when it's safe to cross in case you have any visual impairments that you can't see the cars coming. And this is one strategy that maybe an occupational therapist thought of because it's that creative route around a daily problem, and the daily problem is crossing the street. So yeah, that's a good example.
One more.
Oh, another question? Yeah.
No, I was going to say, it's true, they have these implements that tell you when it's safe to work. Regardless of that, you should always look both ways before you cross the street, because there are people that don't regard red lights, green lights, purple lights, and they just go speeding through everything. So you can't take that as the fail safe. You still have to look.
Yeah. Especially living in a city, right?
Right.
There's people driving crazy all over the place. That's just something to help you with the process though. Okay. So vision skills such as tracking can help people learn to use their remaining vision more efficiently and effectively. Occupational therapy practitioners can recommend special devices like the one that helps you cross the street and products to compensate for low vision. Tailored equipment such as magnifiers or talking computers, clocks, and timers that don't require you to rely on vision can really improve safety and function. A home safety assessment by an occupational therapist may make sure that there is adequate lighting within reach throughout a person's house and make recommendations for lighting, such as night lights and sensor lights as needed. So you can go to the next one. So not as steady on your feet as you used to be? Well, I have good news for you. A person can improve balance at any age. People need to improve their balance. Occupational therapy practitioners use a number of strategies. Some suggest balance improvement programs such as Tai Chi, moving for better balance. And I actually saw that your site here has some Tai Chi programs, right? Those are good ones to attend. We'll talk about that later too. Others show clients how to safely improve their balance skills during day-to-day activities. So the key is to safely maintain an active lifestyle. That's the summary point of what I'm trying to say today. Occupational therapy practitioners can help people learn more about what their bodies can and can't do, and teach people how to modify activities so they can still do these activities as safely as possible. So every person has to make decisions about how to engage in activities to be as safe as possible. Sometimes we need to plan ahead and modify how we do things to take advantage of our strengths and compensate for things we are no longer able to do as well as we used to do. So for example, when you go to sit down, you might stop to think about the best place for you to sit and choose a higher chair instead of that comfortable sofa to make it easier to stand back up. So take a look at this picture. What could this woman be doing differently to put her at less of a risk for fall? Her shoes, yeah. It looks like she's wearing a flip-flop, right? That's extremely unsafe. What else could be a risk for her falling here?
What is she standing on?
She's standing on a very unstable looking stool. So,
Well, that's not a good idea.
Also, someone should be there if going on a ladder or climbing or anything like that.
yeah, maybe someone standing there to support her. Yep. Anything else? I have a few too that I could bring up. So one risk factor that as an occupational therapist I would identify is the fact that she's reaching above her head to grab something up on the top shelf. Anytime you reach to grab something high, it kind of throws off your center of balance, especially when you're standing on a stool like that. She could have organized her kitchen a little better, so the items she needs are within easy reach, because obviously she needs whatever's all the way up there. She could have used all of this counter space for that instead, so then she wouldn't have to stand on a stool. She could remove clutter or obstacles on the floor, such as the vacuum. This could cause another fall hazard. And like you said, she could have planned ahead to ask somebody for help. So as an occupational therapist, we're looking at that specific situation and finding all of these different risk factors that not a lot of people may have thought of. So our homes may contain many fall risks that we may not be aware of. Take a look at this room in the picture. What might be a fall risk here? The rug, right? Yeah, it's all bent up. You can trip over that pretty easily.
The wire.
The wire, yep. Someone on the Zoom said the wire. And the shoes. Yeah. So one other thing I would bring up is the bed sheets on the floor.
Yeah.
Is that what you said? Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't know if it was a blanket or what's.
Yeah. Yeah, that's dangling off the bed. You could trip on that.
Very pretty though.
Yep, the rug, the shoes, the light and the tissues are not within reach of the bed. Are you
I
gonna?
was gonna mention that the light, she should have a light, he or she should have a light. Right
Closer
near
to
the
the bed, yeah.
The dresser should be right next to the bed. For example, a lot of people, if they have glasses, or they need medications or whatever, put them right on the stand, right next to the bed.
Yeah,
Also, maybe what the bed lacks, depending on the person's mobility, some kind of, I don't know what to call them, but the kind of, the lifts on the side of the bed that go up
Yeah.
and down.
bed rails.
Bed rails,
Yep.
bed rails.
Yeah, that would be something for sleeping, right, at night, just in case you roll off the bed or something, nobody else can catch you. You can also use that to hold on when you're getting in and out of the bed. So that's a good
Yeah, I
idea.
fell off the bed twice.
Have you really? Yeah. So there you go. And yeah, more for the light. Sorry, just quickly. instead of having to stand up in the middle of the night maybe to turn the light on and potentially tripping on the shoes or the wire or the rug, you move it a couple inches closer to your bed, you can just click it on before even rolling out of bed. So you can see everything on the floor.
Did you mention bed height?
And the bed height too is very important.
The lower your bed is, the worse a fall would be if you did happen to fall out of it.
Makes it more difficult to get in and out of the bed if it's much lower to the floor. So,
But I had my head on the nightstand
oh,
because I tried to grab to the nightstand and my head, so anyway.
well, I'm
And
glad.
one time I fell the other way and I had my knee on the dresser, so my whole leg was black and blue, but nothing was broken. So I don't know why I fell on the boat. And I do have, I guess,
Yeah, that could be a personal factor, right? The balance maybe. So again, it all intertwines.
too close, not too close to the edge,
Mm.
I guess. I don't know. Whatever. But
Well, I'm glad you're here, Nick.
Did you say the bed should be lower?
It
or
should be
higher?
higher.
Higher?
It should be easy enough for you to get in, but you don't want it to be too low that you have to kind of fall to the floor to get into the bed. But you don't want it to be too high that you have to jump into it. So that's something an occupational therapist would look into, is the perfect height for your bed, depending on the person. Yeah.
Is there a standard height for a bed? Most beds, if you went to the store to buy one?
Depends on the mattress.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, because they're getting higher and higher.
Yeah.
It really depends on your comfort in your home, your surroundings, what you have around your bed, like Jack was saying before. It's just kind of finding your perfect medium.
Yeah. Yeah, so an occupational therapist would maybe do a home assessment, and they would look at the height of your bed and say, hey, maybe you should get a smaller mattress because this one's too high and it's too hard to get into. Or hey, maybe you should get higher feet on your bed just to raise it up a bit. And there's tools you can get, very cheap little blocks you can put underneath your bed just to raise it a bit if you have to. There's a whole bunch of options. So, what is the occupational therapy difference when it comes to home safety? To make your home safer, as I was just saying, we identify fall risk factors as a first step. An occupational therapy home safety assessment involves carefully evaluating a person's abilities and determining whether the home environment fits the person and supports independence. So room by room checks for safety hazards, combined with a thorough assessment of a person's functioning in the home, provide a complete picture of home safety. Occupational therapy practitioners consider many things when determining whether something is or is not a safety hazard, including how the person moves around the home and the habits that increase or reduce the fall risk. So in short, evidence available to date suggests that a one-size-fits-all approach to home safety will not reduce fall risks. That's the difference occupational therapy makes. An occupational therapy practitioner puts you in the center of any changes recommended. So that goes back to the bed, just figuring out which height is good for the person. Reflecting on what we've talked about, what might you do or what have you done in the past to protect yourself from falls? And does anyone have any tips to share that we haven't covered yet today?
I take the classes that the center has for balance.
Mm, yeah.
And also try to, well, I don't attend the class complete, but I stand on one foot at home, enough from brushing my teeth.
Just to practice your balance throughout the day? Yeah.
I guess also maybe a lot, we have so many items in our home that sentimental value. I face this myself. The less furniture, the better, I would guess. Or rearrange it at least differently so you have more space.
Yeah.
And be careful where the space is limited.
Yep. That goes back to clearing out a path for areas that you're constantly walking in your home. So I keep referring to bathroom to the bedroom. That's a big one. We always try to make sure that that path from your bedroom to the bathroom and back is clear of any furniture, any rugs that you could trip on. Yeah.
Another thing I have, well, not a little pet, a cat,
Mhm.
and she loves to go between my feet and legs. And oh boy, a couple of times I almost took a fall. What I try to do is sometimes I forget, walk slow, very, very slow. I can always have my slippers on so that if she wants to have take a nibble. I'm safe. And
Yeah.
I need to be careful with those slow.
Yep.
Turning your body around quickly can risk a fall.
Yeah.
If you go like that fast, your balance can get you.
Yeah. Without much thought of how fast your body's moving, your feet may not catch up to you. This may cause you to trip.
And I don't know, well, how related that this is to occupational therapy. I don't imagine very. I also go once a week for physical therapy, and my physical therapist and my physiologist help me with exercises that help to strengthen all parts, like to go hand in hand.
Yeah, they're very similar. Our physical therapy focuses more on like your strength and your body function, where occupational therapy focuses on how you function within your environment. So it's similar but a little different too, which makes us a good team. I'd say so myself. Does anybody else have any other tips or things that they've done to?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi. I find my initial movement, from sitting to standing is one thing, but even standing still, when I start to move, I try to focus on straight and slower before I go into action. If I turn too quickly, my mind is shifting my body's shifting too quickly, the mind connection. But, like the feet planted firmly straight before I make my right or left turn helps me.
Yeah, definitely. So
I was given a hint years ago. She said when you stand up from a seated position, whether it's a car or a chair or a couch, stop and count to 10, get your balance, and then start moving.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. Was everybody able to hear what they said? Okay, I'll repeat it. So they were talking about.
I also sent you information about OXO, OXO, have exceptional suction safety bars that you can put in any room without making holes in your walls, or right above the toilet, to the left or right of the toilet.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I've never heard of that.
They're phenomenal. Just look them up.
All right, I'll do that after this. Thank you for sharing that. So what they were saying is that before they initially start walking, if they stand up from a chair or something, they'll pause for a second just to orient themselves, and in case they get dizzy or something from the quick rise from the chair, and make sure to start walking in a straight line. And this is just some balance techniques that they've developed to prevent themselves from falling after standing up from a chair. And someone also mentioned OXO, I think it was. OXO grab bar.
Yes, OXO has a lot of products to help with movement in the house.
Yeah, so OXO products are something that you may want to look into. They're grab bars that have suction on them. So instead of drilling holes into your wall, you can just suction it to the wall. And they come off. Yeah, you can move them around to wherever you need them. So that's a good tool. Yeah. Okay.
I put them in a carry bag whenever I visit my children, because this way I can put them for help where I need them.
Yep.
They're not massive. They're about 12 inches long, but the suction is outstanding.
That's good to hear. All right. So keeping in mind all of that we've learned today, here's a few strategies to just review what we talked about. A few strategies to protect yourself from the possibility of a fall. Talk to your physician and pharmacists about medications. Get an eye exam regularly, stay active and exercise regularly, find alternatives for potentially risky behaviors, maintain a healthy sleep schedule, stay hydrated, and identify and eliminate fall hazards in the home. So, in conclusion, falls can be prevented by taking charge of your health and utilizing the resources that are available to you. You can lower your chance of falls. So talk to your physician about services such as occupational therapy to help you prevent falls.
My question is, only the physician who only comes like every 3 months can direct into an occupational therapist, or could it be like a social worker can also, do referral?
I'm sure anybody that's doing an evaluation. So the question was, can only a physician prescribe or recommend you to an occupational therapist, or can like a social worker or something do that as well? So the answer is yes, anybody can recommend you to occupational therapy. Anybody that's doing an evaluation on you, whether it's a physical one or yeah, go ahead.
There is a therapy place called ReadyCare, REDDY, and they pick you up and drop you off. And they take you to a center place for physical therapy. I think there are several around the city.
It's REDDY or I?
No, REDDY.
So that was a recommendation for a site that will pick you up from wherever you are and drive you to a physical therapy.
Physical, occupational.
And where do you find someone who will come to your home?
What was the question?
Where do you find someone who will come to your home?
Where do you find somebody? So
all of them will come.
Oh, thank you.
So you can talk to, so the question was, how can you find somebody to come to your home to do an evaluation? I would probably start with your physician, just because they're your main source of contact for all of your health needs. And they would definitely have connections to a home assessment if you need it. If not, they can direct you to somebody that would have that connection, but definitely start with your physician. Yeah.
Well, my physician, I saw the first time coming to my home, from a hospital, and he's too much booked, and only in 3 months he can see somebody, unless there is, some sickness. But, that's usually today very hard with physicians. When you're saying start with physician, either you don't have them or else they are all over the place.
Once you have a prescription, all the hospitals are also connected to physical therapy, whether it's out here on Long Island or in the city, Columbia Presbyterian. All of them have departments for physical therapy.
Yep. Yeah. So she was saying any hospital has a connection to physical therapy, to occupational therapy. So we're definitely around, even if you've never heard of us, we're definitely there and we're ready to help. Okay, so we're kind of running out of time. So this went a lot longer because of our excellent questions. I thank you for that. But so we have some packets that we've made, and these are, yeah.
When you get out of bed in the morning, do it slowly because some people have blood pressure problems.
Can we get them when we are home, those gifts?
Equalize your blood pressure, so you should sit at the end of the bed first.
Yeah.
To make your blood pressure come back to normal and then stand up.
Yep.
And the other thing is, I felt my jaw because I wasn't conscious of my environment. And the environment is outside and tree on the street. Oftentimes, the tree has roots. And roots go and lift up the pavement. And my foot got caught under the pavement. I went down and broke my jaw, so you have to be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah.
That's very important.
That relates to the environmental context of OT that I was talking about. Yeah.
To reduce the possibility of some kind of vertigo, when you wake up in the morning, I think it's best to move your legs over first, not your head or upper body. When you move your upper body first, there's a risk of more dizziness.
Yeah.
If you confusion.
We cannot hear anything. It's too quiet.
So he's saying they were talking about waking up in the morning and just to kind of give yourself a second after you wake up to regulate your body before you stand up, because some people may have blood pressure issues that could cause vertigo or dizziness. So you just want to make sure that you're sturdy and you're ready to stand in the morning.
It's best to move your legs first.
And it's best to move your legs first. Yep. Because you want to make sure you're safe on the floor before you move anything else. So, and I heard a question before. We have brochures that we can send to the people that are home. They have a home assessment evaluation in it, but I don't think we have any of the in-person evaluations just because those are things that we have to observe you doing. But we'll send that to you. Either, I guess we'll get your emails from somebody here, but we can definitely send that to you and we have it ready. So, but yeah, okay. Any last questions? No. All right. So we've made these packets for you.
So every packet has one of these in them. There are two surveys in them. They're yes or no questions. There's 3 surveys. There's a checklist, another checklist, and a yes or no survey here, and you just circle yes or no. I'm gonna hand out these packets. The only thing you need to worry about right now is filling those out in the one here. And then once you're done, just let us know and we'll start to do mobility assessments. And your information isn't going anywhere. These don't have your names on them. They're just numbered.
We actually ask that you don't put your name on it because we'll be collecting the data for a research project that we're doing. So we just don't want to have any personal information on there.
And also, please keep this packet together and stapled just because we will be collecting it at the end. Any questions?
And we'll be walking around too to help you if you
We'll
need.
have no, it's just for later.
There are some questions in the chat.
I'm sorry?
There are some questions in the chat.
Oh, okay. Oh, there's 11 questions. All right. I can answer them. So any chance you can record this? They already recorded it.
It is recorded. It was being recorded.
I've fallen twice during the pandemic due to my mask blocking my vision. Yeah, that's a big one that we didn't really think of, did we, when the pandemic started? But so that could be maybe an occupational therapy recommendation for that would be getting a different type of mask that fits your face still, and you won't be able to, you'll still be able to see what's in front of you. How is OT different from PT? I kind of answered that before, but PT is more physical and it's related to your body. It's getting kind of noisy in here, but can everybody still hear me?
So you're gonna fill out this page.
I think so. So physical therapy is more related to your strength and your joint mobility and just, stretching exercise and everything, where OT focuses on your function within your environment. So we look at your strength and how you would need to improve it or modify it depending on the home you live in or where you work or wherever you spend your time. So we work it's very similar, but we do a little different. How can I request a home safety assessment from Columbia? Does Medicare pay? So that's a great question. A home safety assessment, again, I would recommend talking to your physician just because they have all of the connections ready and that's part of their job is to send you to places that would be more specific for your needs. And I'm sure you can mention to them like, hey, I want to go to Columbia Presbyterian and see if they have any resources. The doctor can look into that for you. And does Medicare pay? I don't want to say for sure that it does. They cover, it's a tricky situation with Medicare. They cover certain types of modifications for your home, but not everything. I believe they do cover a home assessment, but don't take my word for that. That is something that you would need to look more into yourself. But I would say they probably do cover an assessment at least, where someone comes in and determines what you may need. And then from there, you would work with them to figure out like what's covered in terms of insurance and everything.
I did that one. Yep. Which one? Oh, that one as well. Yep.
Alert systems, can having an Alexa be enough? So I know a lot of alert systems can connect you to an emergency service, like an Apple Watch, for example, can determine if you fall, like a sudden change in your height, it'll determine that you've fallen, and it would send a message out to somebody to say, hey, this person's fallen, go to their home and help them. So there's definitely a lot more being developed lately. I'm not sure exactly about Alexas, but you know, I wouldn't be surprised if they did have something like that, because that is a great tool for that. And if not, you can use Alexa to call somebody that's close to you. So it would be good to have your neighbor's phone number or like a family member or something, and you can just say, hey, Alexa, call my neighbor, and it'll call them, and you can do it through there. Will we get handouts as a PDF? Yes, we'll send you the handouts. Maybe if you want to put your email in the chat, we can save them and then send you the PDFs. But if not, I'm sure the site has your email saved somewhere, but it might be easier to just put your email in the chat. OXO, we talked about that. Yep, that was a really good tool. Because that's another thing, they'll insurance may cover something like a grab bar in the shower, but then that's, you know, if you live in an apartment or something where they don't allow home modification, this would be something that you can still do because you're not drilling it into the wall. So I like the idea of it. I would have to test out how strong the suction is, but yeah, that sounds like a really good item. You got it on Amazon, yeah. So it's easily available. I came to this presentation late and see that this is being recorded. So is it possible to get the recording? Oh, you fell 2 days ago. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what we're trying to prevent. But yeah, we'll send out the recording as well. I think maybe Maritza's recording it, so I can talk to her after this. Is it possible? Yeah, I'll try to send it out after this. Okay, so I see all of your emails. I'm going to start taking pictures of it so we can send it later. All right. Does anybody else have any other questions before I end the Zoom? All right. Anybody else want to put their email in before I end it as well?
Thank you, Haley.
But if not. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to us speak about fall prevention. This is something that we care about, and we hope everybody can remain safer in their environments. So thank you for listening. We'll make sure to send out those brochures for you, and have a good one. I'll screenshot that one as well. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Jack. Have a good day.
You too.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye now.